So we are on Chapter 5, Lesson 6, the Quadratic Formula. Now, if you can notice over here to the right-hand side, we are given a nice long formula. It's x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, when I was growing up, my teacher taught me this little song that I could memorize this extra long formula, and it's to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that song. It might be too old for you, but I'm going to sing it for you so you can know. So it goes, x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That probably doesn't help you at all, but that's okay. I had fun with that, so that's all that matters. So what does the quadratic function formula tell us? So this should be formula. So this says, what does the quadratic formula tell us? It tells us what the x-intercepts, or zeros, are of the function. Now we've talked about the zeros before. This is another way that if the numbers aren't so nice, and we can't tell right by using it, we can use the quadratic formula to find the x-intercepts, or the zeros. So let's use our new formula with our brand new song and find the zeros of the function by using the quadratic formula. So if you can look up top, we have x equals that nice formula. I want to write out what our a terms, b, and c are so that we know that we can plug it right into that equation. So you'll notice that our first number right here is -1, so a equals -1. Our b term is -5, and our c term is a +6. So notice again that a and b are negative and c is positive. So now in order to find our x-intercepts, or our zeros, we have x is equal to the opposite of b. Now if you look back at b, we have that b is negative. The opposite of a negative is a positive. So we have 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared, and -5 squared is a +25, minus 4 times a times c. So we have 4 times a is -1, and times c is 6. So now we have to divide by 2 times a, and our a term is -1. So if we rewrite this, we have x is equal to 5 plus or minus the square root of 25. And we know that 4 times -1 times -6 is a -24. So we're subtracting a -24. So what we're doing is adding 24. All over -2. So now if we rewrite this again, we have x is equal to 5 plus or minus the square root of 49, all over -2. So now we know what the square root of 49 is. It's a perfect square, so we're going to have x is equal to 5 plus or minus 7 over -2. Now this is where we're going to split it into two different equations. We're going to have 5 plus 7 divided by 2, and we're going to have 5 minus 7 divided by 2. Now don't forget that that 2 is negative. So we know that 5 plus 7 is 12, and 12 divided by -2 is a -6. And we know that 5 minus 7 is a negative 2 divided by negative 2, which is a positive 1. So our zeros are going to be x equals negative 6 and 1. So how we would write that as points, it would be negative 6, 0, and 1, 0. And again, we just found our x-intercepts right there. So I know that all of you have been at the edge of your seats wondering, Miss Ganter, when are we going to be able to do a word problem? Well, you're in luck because today's the day. We have the pilot of a helicopter plans to release a bucket of water on a forest fire. The height y in feet of the water t seconds after its release is modeled by y equals negative 16 t squared minus 2t plus 500. How long will it take the water to hit the ground? First of all, I want to write off to the left-hand side what our equation is we're working with. We have that y is equal to negative 16 t squared minus 2t plus 500. And I also want us to draw a picture because I love art and pictures help. So here we go. We are starting at a height of a helicopter and we are flying and we're dropping water here. How long will it take the water to hit the ground? We want to find this point here. We want to find where it crosses the x-intercept, or crosses the x-axis to find our x-intercepts. So what we want to use is the quadratic formula, and we have been looking at that this lesson. So you're in luck if you remember the nice little song that we had. So what we had is x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Again, I want to take the time now to identify our different variables. We have a, b, and c. We have that a is equal to negative 16 in this example. We have that b is equal to negative 2. And we have that c is equal to a positive 500. Using these numbers, we're going to go ahead and plug them into our nifty little equation we have here. We have x is equal to the opposite of negative 2, which is actually a positive 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 4, minus 4 times a, which is negative 16, and times c, which is 500. And we are dividing this all by 2a. So now what I want to do is simplify what we're working with right now. So we have x is equal to, oh, I didn't even plug in a over here. Well, let's do it now. Negative 16. Perfect. We have 2 plus or minus the square root of 4. And now I'm going to pause so I can do some calculations. Whew. Okay, I'm back. So I finally punched it all into my calculator and I figured out that nasty number right here is 32,000. Yeah, do you blame me for going to get a calculator? So now what I want to do is we still have it over negative 32. Now we're going to switch colors here and go with x is equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of 32004 all over negative 32. Now, believe it or not, we can break this number down a little bit. So I want to break it down into x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 36 times the square root of 889. Go ahead and check my math if you don't believe me. I did it on a calculator. So now we know that the square root of 36 is 6. And you can see that 2, negative 32, and 6 all have 2 in common, so we can divide out by 2. So we have x is equal to plus or minus 3 times the square root of 889 all over negative 16. So what this means is we have 2 answers. We have one answer that's going to be positive and one answer that's going to be negative. If you look back at our chart up here, we want our positive value because we want to know a positive amount of time. So when we calculate it out, we get the answers of negative 33.5 and positive 33.5. So the answer that we are going to ignore is the negative because that just doesn't plain make sense. So our answer is 33.5, but I want you to remember that we're talking about in seconds. So it's going to take them 33.5 seconds. That's how long the water's going to be in the air. So this would conclude the lesson for the evening. Now I want you to try the you try problems and have fun.